Hello, welcome to the third part of the series, answering questions using Google Classroom tools. Hopefully now you're starting to see why links are so important and why they're so vital in organizing these Google Slides. Um, in this video, we're going to look at a variety of ways that students can essentially submit their work. To get a student perspective, you can join this example class that I've created in Google Classroom, and you can kind of see what they see. I do intend and hope to be able to make a video series on Google Classroom, and you see how I organize and use Google Classroom. This will give you right now a brief view. As I evolve and make the next video series, you'll be able to see kind of how I grow it and the other ways that I use it. But the join code's right there. If you go into Google Classroom and add a class, enter that code right in, you'll be able to join this example class, which will give you some perspective on how I set this up. So here's an example of basically just a scenario that I give to kids, some questions that correspond with it. And the way I would typically use this in my class is these are critical thinking style questions. I would probably just have them write these answers down on a piece of paper, and then we would discuss them in a normal typical year. Now, this is going to be anything but a normal typical year. So in order to kind of hold my kids accountable, specifically the virtual students, I would want to see them do their work. I can't just walk around the classroom and read some answers and question students quite like I used to be able to. So I'm going to need to do that a little more on my own time. So the way I've set this up is I actually gave a few different examples for you as to how to do this. So these images right here are actually two links. Right? This is a link to a Google Doc, and this is a link to questions that you can answer in Google Classroom. So let's start with the Google Doc. Now, this is a Google Doc icon. All I did was find a picture on the internet of a Google Doc icon, and as I showed you in the previous video, I made a hyperlink or a link on this image. So if I click this, or a student clicks this, it should take them right to the assignment. Here it is in the Google Doc. All those questions that they saw in the Google Slides is presented right here in a Google Doc, and now they can go through and answer the questions right on here. When they are done, since you're looking at it from a teacher's perspective, you don't see it, but when they're done, they'll be able to submit it. But yeah, they can type the answers in right here. A lot of times, I don't use Google Docs a lot for students submitting works where they're answering questions that I provided. But in the past, when I have doing things like web quests and whatnot, I would typically ask the students to type their answers in a different color. That way, when I go through and I go over their work, it's easier for me to just spot the difference. I'll say make it something legible. I'd like a blue typically. It just makes it pop a little. I can get through them a lot quicker. It helps me on the grading end of things. But that's just a recommendation, obviously not a requirement. So like I said, once they're done doing this, they can click submit. It'll upload into Google Classroom, and I will be able to see that. The other way I've set this up in this presentation, excuse me, getting lost here, sorry. The video to, here's what I want. The other way I've sent this up is for kids to answer questions directly in Google Classroom. So same thing, it was a picture of a question mark that I had here. I added a link to it. The link takes them to these questions right here. I didn't edit the points here, but I guess it's worth 100 points. You can edit that before you submit. So what this will allow kids to do is have an answer section. And again, you're not seeing it on mine because you're not looking at it from a student perspective, but there will essentially be a text box in here that they would be able to type their answers in. 1, give me the answer. 2, give me the answer. And then again, there'd be a submit button that they would click, and it would go through, and I would be able to look at those answers when I viewed Google Classroom from my teacher perspective. All of that work would be shown, and I'd have an opportunity to see kind of their thought process as they went through and answered these questions. So that's how it looks. What I'm going to show you next is how to create something like this where you can have students submit answers to questions. So we'll use this as our blank canvas here, connecting things to Google Classroom. And let's start with a question, real basic. What is your favorite color? Beautiful. Let's say this is the question we want students to answer, and we want them to submit them in either a Google Doc, as we just saw, or we want them to submit the answer in a question format, as we just saw. So we need to interact with our Google Classroom to do that. So open up a link. And this is my example class, so this is where I will go. And again, I'm going to have a video. I intend to have a video showing you exactly how I set up Google Classroom and how I use it. So if I go through this kind of fast, know that there will be more information coming. This isn't the Google Classroom video. Right? But here are my assignments. Okay, this is what I used. If I wanted to have a Google Doc that asked the question, what is your favorite color, just as I had on my Google slide here, I need to add that Google Doc here. Well, I can't add that Google Doc until I've created it. So that'll take me into Google Docs. I'm going to go to Google Drive here first, and then just click this new button. Create a Google Doc. And I'll have the question here. What is your favorite color? Make that the name of the document. All right, so now here's my document that's got the question on it that I need students to answer. I'm going to add that into my Google Drive, or excuse me, my Google Classroom. So let me head back here. And I will put this under participation. This would be a participation grade for me, not a graded assignment like a quiz or something like that. So I'll create the assignment. It's going to be an assignment. Color. Excuse me. Now I'll add this document into Google Classroom. I just created it in my Google Drive. That's where it exists. So I'll click here. Since I recently made it, it'll be here at the top. If not, the search engine comes in pretty handy to find whatever it is you're looking for. All right, but I'll add that document. All right, and then you can go through on the side and edit all this if you want to. And again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that right now, but just know that it's all here. The one thing I will do is I told you it was a participation grade. I'm going to put it in my participation assignments. Click Assign. And now it's there. All right. Now, actually, I made a mistake when I did that, and I'll go through and show you why. So now when I create the link for students to answer this, let's say I want to use a graphic again. Let's get a favorite color graphic. Okay, so this is the image I'm going to use to create the link to that Google document that I just created. So if I want to create a link, I'm going to use my link button here. All right, and I need to get a link. If I go to my Google document and I click share here, and I click copy link, I can do that. and that'll take all the students to a document. But the problem is it will take all students to this same document, and depending on what type of access I give them, it will either allow them to edit it, which means they are all editing the same exact document. So envision, 25 kids, same document, all editing. That's not what we want. We want individual answers. So that would be a problem. I could send it to them here, and if I share it, I could say that they can edit it or view it. If they can only view it, then they can't edit it. They can't give me their answer. They can't tell me what their favorite color is. So both of these are flawed options. I don't want to have them edit it because they're all editing the same thing. I don't want to have them view it because they're all viewing the same thing. So I can't share them with them the Google Doc. That's going to be a problem. I'm not going to get what I want out of this. So what I need to do is I need to go back to my Google Classroom, and now I have 100 things open, so I got to make sure I get the right one. Let's just close these for confusion's sake. All right. So I posted this. When I made this assignment, I actually made an error. See here where it says students can view file? I want students to have their own file. I can't even go back and edit it and say students have their own file. It doesn't allow you to do that. I need to do it the first time, and I need to do it right the first time. So I'm actually going to delete this. Do it all over again. So I'm going to create an assignment, and we're going to create that color assignment. I'm going to add a Google Doc that I had right here. You see right here, now if I click this drop-down box, there's the magic option that I want, make a copy for each student. So now if a student accesses their Google Classroom and clicks this link, they're going to edit their own version of this document. They are not going to be all editing the same Google Doc. Hopefully that makes sense as to what I'm saying to you. They're going to have their own copy of this. So I'm going to put that under participation grades again, click assign. All right, it takes a little longer because it's got to make all the copies. So now when I go to get my link that I'm going to put on this picture that I got here, where I'm still waiting to enter the link in, I have to go to my Google Classroom because I want to make sure I get the link that takes each student to their individual copy. And this is where it is. So I go into where the assignment is, click these three little dots on the right. You might not see them there. Hover over with your mouse, they'll appear. Three little dots on the right, click copy link. Come in, it's already copied, so I'm just going to Control V with my keyboard. It's there, it's in, the link's set. So now when I click this, it'll take each student to their document that you've created for them because you selected make your own copy. So they'll click on that and they will be able to submit their answer. And then, like I said, there'll be a submit button here for them. You're just not seeing it because we're looking at it from the teacher perspective. And then done, boom, that Google Doc has been sent to you, and you'll be able to access it from your teacher, your Google Classroom from your teacher perspective. All right. Now the other method I showed you here with the questions, I'll show you how to do that. So let's say I don't want to use the Google Doc. I want to use a question. Okay, I'm going to remove this link and freshen this up again. So this has no link attached to it. And I don't want to use this, I decided, so I'm going to delete it. I instead want to create a question. So I'm going to create question. and it's going to be same participation grade. So I'll change the topic to participation grade. I'll type my question here. What is your favorite color? Right, and I don't have to attach a document because they're answering directly in Google Classroom. When they submit their answer, I'm going to see the text that they've entered here. So I don't need to add anything. I'm going to press ask. And then my copying the link is going to be exactly the same. I go over the three dots, copy link, go back here, add the link, and again I just Control B, submit. And now when I click this, it'll take me to the question. Okay, and again, I don't have the type in box because it's the teacher perspective. But that's the process by which you can have students answer questions and submit them paperlessly, right? And they'll type them up. The third option is uploading a picture. Now, I was going to give a tutorial on this and show you specifically how to do that. The problem is, there's a few problems. Number one, you're kind of stuck on the fact that you need students to have a phone to do this. They need to have a phone with their camera that they snap a picture of and upload it. I've had students try and use their webcams on their Chromebooks to take pictures and upload. Functionally, it works, but it's really, really hard to make out what's on the paper and really hard to read. It's not the best camera for that. So my recommendation for you for this, if this is an option you really, really want to pursue and you have a lot of kids with phones, have them download the Google Classroom app. And as long as they have that Google Classroom app, I would say probably 95% of students will be able to figure out how to upload a picture of their work using their phone, because it's very straightforward and very simple. It might look different on an Android versus an iPhone, but ultimately it's a pretty similar process where they are just going to click add or attach work, go in their picture roll, and they're going to pick the picture of their work that they just took, and they're going to upload it. I did use this while we were teaching remotely at the end of last year. It was difficult when I didn't get to interact with every kid daily. I could see it becoming a easier process if all the students or most of the students are in your room and you get to kind of show them how. All it takes is really one student in your class to be able to do this and be able to show everybody pretty easily. But that's an option as well that I think you can use, because I'm sure you feel similar to I, is that writing is pretty important. I always learn better when I write stuff down. I remember it better when I write stuff down. I don't want to go away from writing. And as I told you, with this set of questions that I have here, odds are that I will just have students write those down if they were in the classroom. If they're virtual, those are the students who I might have take up one of these options where they're going into Google Docs or they're going into the Google questions. Otherwise, I'll be able to see the kids in my room writing this stuff down, and I will definitely take that route. I may have them submit it, I may not, depending on pacing and the importance of that. But ultimately, there's a few different ways you can go about that. The ways I showed you, keep everything neat and tidy in your Google Classroom, and give you easy access to look at it and grade it and give feedback to kids. So I hope you thought that was valuable. That's the end of video 3 here in this 5-part series. In the next video, I will show you how to add Google Forms and kind of just give you some perspectives on different ways you can use Google Forms in your classroom. All right, thanks for tuning in.